Welcome back to the Hill City and inside Turner Gymnasium, where it is basketball season once again at the University of Lynchburg. I am Sam Graham, joined alongside Andrew Watson. We got a great one going to be taking place on Wayne Profit Court tonight between the Lynchburg Hornets and the Eagles of Mary Washington. These two teams met early last year, and it resulted in a 68-65 win for Mary Washington. Andrew, expected to be tightly contested again today, but what are some of your keys to the game?
Well, one of the main keys that I've seen is that 8 of the returning starters from last year are not here. So only Kuda Savage and Deshaun Cook return, one on either side. And so we're going to see how the newcomers can face in this new system that Lynchburg is going to play. And that kind of plays into one of my main keys here, that Lynchburg, they're going to need to control the pace. They're going to try and push the ball in the inner squad. They put up a lot of points, and it looked like they were a completely different squad than what we saw last year. And so whether Mary Washington is ready for that, I'm not exactly sure. But Mary Washington on the other end is going to have to control the pace as well and try and play at their own speed, because they do have a little bit more size. So they're not going to be as good in transition as Lynchburg is. But with playing with pace, you also have to play with composure. And so if you're Lynchburg, you need to take some good shots. You can't force up shots early in the shot clock just because you're supposed to play quick, and that'll play exactly into Mary Washington's hands. And for Mary Washington, they need to come out strong on the defensive end. If you can make a statement in the first couple minutes that you are ready, you have the stamina to play at that pace, then they're going to be in a good spot.
Well, let's now take a look at our team comparison for today. Take a look at the numbers back from the 2021-22 campaign. A couple of really similar teams, but Andrew, what really jumps off the screen to you?
Well, the main thing that jumps off that screen is the assist numbers. Last year, Mary Washington, 14.4 assists. That's 3 more than Lynchburg averaged last year, and you really saw it last year in last year's game. But at the new pace that they're going to play, it looks like Lynchburg is going to move the ball a little bit quicker. They're going to try and get more open shots. So that should change.
Well, I think it's also important to point out that rebounding number for Lynchburg. You got a guy in T.C. Thacker that averaged 11 rebounds a game last season. He is no longer here. So how do you look to make up for that, really lost production, for lack of a better term? Who's going to step up in terms of the forwards and bigs for Lynchburg and fill that void? So let's take a look now at some of our players to watch. First, Deshaun Cook for Mary Washington, coming off of a fantastic campaign, 12.1 points per game, right around 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Started in all 23 games last year. On the other side for Lynchburg, it is Kuda Savage, the lone returning starter.
Yeah, Kuda Savage last year averaged 6.5 points per game, the most out of any returner. And he also started this game last year against Mary Washington, so he pretty much knows what to expect in terms of the level of intensity that Mary Washington will come out with. So it'll be very interesting to see how he reacts in this new leading role on the team.
Well, we're going to step aside, and we will be back in just a few moments for starting lineups and tip-off here at this Code Red game in Turner Gymnasium.
If I'm walking around over on the crowd side, I always hear someone yelling, "Hey Nat, take our picture. Hey Nat, get this," or something, or "Hey Nat, you got that shot?" So I'm always trying to photograph the crowds and my friends calling my name. I think sports at Lynchburg unifies us as a whole. No matter what background we come from, what differences we have, and what experience we've experienced through our lives, it brings us all together and we have one goal, which is to win. As a photographer, I definitely get to capture the emotion and the feel and the atmosphere of what's going on during the games and what's happening in the crowd and with the fans. We have hugely dedicated fans here at Lynchburg. They come out whether it's rain, snow, sleet, windy, no matter what, they will come out and support their team and cheer them on. They will sit through anything. It brings us all together as one.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer at a competitive level, but also it's given me the ability to be a student and to pursue other activities such as EMS. "100% do Westover because it's not something they're going to regret, and it's going to be a lot of work, but so is everything else. It's just going to help build their education that they've already had and make them a better person for it."
When you come to the University of Lynchburg to earn a master's degree in athletic training, you'll spend time in the classroom, but you'll also spend a lot of time in our top-notch facilities learning from athletic trainers and working closely with our student athletes. In the Graduate Cadaver Lab, you'll learn about the human body in the best way possible, by actually studying the human body. This will provide a foundation to make you a much better athletic trainer. In the Athletic Training Laboratory, you'll get hands-on experience, practicing your skills, applying concepts from the classroom, and working with faculty on research projects. It's also where our hydrotherapy facilities are. This space is also used by students for studying and practicing skills outside of class time. In the Sports Medicine Clinic and Turner Gymnasium, you'll work with student athletes from more than 20 NCAA Division III sports teams, helping get them back to practice and into the game as soon as possible. As an athletic training student, you're a big part of the success of our sports teams and the success of the local athletic teams. We see this relationship as a win-win situation. You learn, and that helps us win.
Look what you're missing! It really don't matter to me, I'm just happy to be here, I might go crazy.
As promised, we are back inside Turner Gymnasium here on Wayne Prophet Court, getting ready for this matchup between Lynchburg and Mary Washington. And before we get to tip-off, let's take a quick look at tonight's starters. Taking a look first on the Mary Washington side of things, they're going to be running 3 guards tonight, and those will be Deshaun Cook, Jack Blue, and Eric Procise. And the 2 forwards will be Greg Rosen, coming back off of injury last year, and Daniel Peterson.
Yeah, the person I'm most interested in watching tonight is Eric Procise, making his first ever collegiate start. And what a place to do it. First game of the season, on the road, a code red game at Lynchburg. You know it means something to everybody in this building. We'll see how he reacts.
Absolutely, and on the Lynchburg side of things, it's going to be Kuda Savage, the one returning starter for this Lynchburg team. He will be the point guard, joined by Jordan Parham, Kayvon James, Alex Fitch, and Jalen Hargrove, rounding out the starters for this Lynchburg team.
Yeah, and I think Jordan Parham is probably the man to watch. I know we talked a lot about Kuda Savage earlier, but Jordan Parham led the team in scoring in the inter-squad scrimmage that we saw last week. So, you know, looking for him to step up and kind of fill this role of the guys we lost last year, and we'll see what he can do as well.
Well, we know from our conversation with Coach Hillary Scott for Lynchburg, they're going to look to utilize really this whole roster. They have a deep roster, 20 guys listed this year. Said they're going to look to use 12 or 13, but before we get into some of those other names, let's talk about the coaches. A couple of really storied coaches for each of these programs, guys that have absolutely done their share of winning both here and elsewhere. So talk to us a little bit about that, Andrew.
Yeah, so first the head coach for Mary Washington, Marcus Kahn. He's entering his 9th season as Mary Washington's head coach. Before that, he was at Cabrini, and obviously we know what he did there. He led that team to a national championship game, fell there, but to prove that you can do that, especially at this level, is extremely competitive. And then on the other side, Coach Hillary Scott entering his 15th season. Quite a few winning seasons in a row. I would say 11 is a lot. So you can see exactly what this basketball team means to him. And obviously he's beloved at the school just because he's such a great coach.
Absolutely. So you see starting lineups wrapping up on the floor. See a chance for these two coaches that we just talked about get in last words of preparation as we are getting ready for the 2022-2023 season to officially get underway. Again, these two teams that did face off last year, hard fought right down to the wire. Mary Washington taking the lead within the final 60 seconds and holding on for a 68-65 win. Expecting a little bit more of a fast-paced game this time around, but certainly do anticipate a close one once again here this season.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how Mary Washington can play that pace. We haven't seen Lynchburg do it against somebody else, so maybe they'll slow it down a little bit just to get the feel of the game going, and then as we push on, start to push the pace a little bit, but who knows? First game of the season, everything is up in the air.
Exactly. Week one of any sport, a lot of questions to be answered. Sure, a lot of questions that each of these coaches have about their teams. You can do the scrimmages, you can have the exhibition games, but you really cannot replicate the real thing, and you certainly cannot replicate it in an environment like this. We have a packed house on this home side. It's a Code Red game. Lynchburg in their reds. In keeping with that, Mary Washington in their road blues, and we are underway here on Wayne Prophet Court. Lynchburg controls the tip. Quickly a shot going up from Kevon James.
And you see early just how they want to shoot the ball quick in the shot clock, but it is important that they don't take some contested shots early.
Lynchburg very active on defense. Saw a quick double team there on Zach Blue. Now they're going to find Blue in the corner. That three rattles off, rebounded by Parham, and Lynchburg already moving in transition.
And maybe a question answered right there, where the rebounding would come from. Jordan Parham there getting the rebound. Obviously he's a little undersized in comparison to the bigs of Mary Washington, but showing that he can get it done as well.
Certainly Kevon James going up strong there. Ball gets knocked out of bounds. Will stay with Lynchburg. Inbound right back to James. And there's another three quickly. Coach Scott, for the Hornets, did allude that they would put up a lot of threes. They want to play fast, and they want to get into both of these teams' benches. He said, you know, obviously we're going to play a lot of guys. You got to keep legs fresh, but you want to get into their bench too. As a beautiful feed there goes down low to Cook, and Cook has the first points of this 2023 season. But quickly, Lynchburg on the other side, their third three and third such miss.
You know, one thing that I think is good is that you can tell that these players have bought into this new system, playing fast pace. I know it's tough, but it is that new brand of basketball. And obviously you see the pressure on defense forcing a turnover, something that they couldn't deal with last year with all the tight pressure there. So obviously pushing that into their own game.
Absolutely, forcing that pressure and creating a turnover early, so huge. Quickly moving on the offensive side. Fitch able to regain his footing at the top of the key. Now back out to Fitch, swings to Kevon James. That one is off. An interesting 4 threes to open the night from Lynchburg. Obviously, like we just alluded to, Coach Scott said to expect the three ball to go up a whole lot, but he was not kidding.
No, he was not. And I wouldn't say that the shots they've taken so far are bad. They're just not dropping. I mean, we're not even 2 minutes into this season, so they'll find their feet eventually.
One of the other things that Coach obviously alluded to was committing to that system early, as any coach wants to do. Get your guys to buy in and garner confidence from what you've been preaching through off-season workouts. So three goes up on the other end. That will bounce off, stay with Mary Washington, and eventually it is Peterson putting it back up and in, 4-0 Eagle lead. Make that 5 threes. This one nearly rattles off. That one going up from Fitch.
And the pressure there just kind of catches Kuda Savage just a little bit out of position there.
Certainly playing at a fast pace and being so active on defense can lead you into some sloppy play at times, especially as you're getting used to the system here early. And in talking with Savage earlier this week, he said, you know, this new system they're trying to implement here at Lynchburg, it's no joke. You know, they're going to run a lot and obviously going to have to rotate some legs through the floor. As their Hargrave comes up with the rebound. James thought about it, thinks better. Out to the corner. Parham pulls up, shot, and that is the first Lynchburg basket of this season.
Yeah, it took them nearly 3 minutes, but maybe that'll take the lid off the rim for them and they'll really be able to turn it on.
Sometimes getting that first shot is so huge for a team's momentum. Lynchburg coaches calling for a push-off. Officials say otherwise. Ball will remain with Mary Washington.
And you can see early just how much this game means to each squad. Both trying to force each other into bad shots and both playing aggressive, as we see that foul there.
And these are two teams that are familiar with one another. We've touched on the game from last year, but Mary Washington really familiar with most of the teams from the ODAC. 6-2 record against ODAC opponents last year. They got quite a few on the schedule this year. 6 with a potential for a 7th. So that one goes inside. Shot will be contested. Will not fall. That was Rowson trying to get on the board. Another 3 for Lynchburg. And now going back with the Eagles. Hargrove got his hand in there a minute, could not secure the offensive rebound. It'll be interesting to see as the Eagles try and set things up in the half court. As they're wasting no time is Cook working that baseline, getting in, picking up his second basket in the early going here of this one.
Yeah, the player to watch for Mary Washington, obviously showing why he was given that accolade today. So Lynchburg needs to find an answer for that.
There is Parham putting in another one, urging this crowd to get loud and stay loud. Again, a packed house, especially on this home side. That ball nearly soars over the head of Cook. Able to settle down and kick it back to the top of the key. And another Lynchburg forced turnover, moving in transition, feeds it to James. There's a good 3 in rhythm. Give it to him. Kevon James has the Hornets' first 3 of the season.
And it is very difficult to put into words just how crazy this environment is right now.
Little bit of lost in transition there, tried to force the double team. Shot ends up going down low for an easy basket there for Precise.
But I think if you're Coach Hillary Scott and the Hornets, you're okay with giving up a basket like that if that means that you can pressure them and maybe force a turnover higher up the court.
Certainly. Pros and cons to playing fast. Lynchburg surely to experience them all. Great feed then there to Rosen, and he has his first bucket of the night, his first bucket since his sophomore campaign back 2 years ago. Again, missed all of last year, out with injury. Great to see him back on the floor, a 2-time all-conference performer. Rookie of the Year in the Coast to Coast Conference as a freshman. The accolades speak for themselves, and great to see him back on the court. So we're going to get our first chance for some subs for Lynchburg. See Miles Taylor come in, as well as Trey Pittman. And it's going to be
the freshman Pearson Young, number 33, right in the center of the court right now.
So Lynchburg already rotating in some bodies.
Yeah, and we're just a little bit more than 5 minutes into this game, and they've already used 8 different players on the court. So maybe, Coach Hillary Scott talked about it, and that's something they're going to do, and obviously he kept his word.
And how about the active defense there from Parham? He's been active on both sides of the court early, able to poke that one away. Refs say last touched off of Cook's leg. Possession awarded to Lynchburg. This seems to be the slowest we've seen Lynchburg work so far today. So they look to feed it inside to Pittman. Pittman with the step back. Nothing but net.
And there's another question that was been answered so far. Obviously, we talked about how they lack in size, but Trey Pittman at 6'7", showing that he's able to compete with these guys out there.
Lynchburg with a lot of athletic forwards. Pittman on the defensive end is going to have his work cut out for him as he will attempt to guard Three goes up there from Cook, finding the bottom of the net. Eagle lead extends back out to 5. Excuse me, what I was going a minute ago, Trey Pittman will be tasked with guarding number 32, Emmanuel Algayer. Excuse me.
Yeah, and in the early going, Deshaun Cook already has 9 points. So 9 of the 13.
And there it is, Algayer going back up, securing the rebound, putting back up and in for 2. He is going to be a matchup nightmare for a smaller Lynchburg team. The offensive rebound on the other side. Foul comes before the shot, gonna be a blocking call. So we're gonna get a chance for more subs. It's gonna be we will step aside for our under 14 timeout. We're gonna take it with them and step aside. We'll be right back here on LHSN.
I was looking for a school that could provide me with the athletics, academics to pursue my career, a wind symphony to pursue my passion for music, and really have a nice general atmosphere. The professors here are really unique, their background and their passion for teaching. It's really a place where you can explore. Lynchburg gives you the opportunity to fail, but also get back up in that period of time and learn from your mistakes. I can make these mistakes within the school environment, but also with the support of other friends, and be ready for the real world when you graduate.
And welcome back. So we come out of the under 14 timeout, and Deshaun Cook out to a quick 9 points. Andrew, how do you look to stop a guy like that that's just so fast and so crafty, especially on the offensive side?
Well, I'm not sure you can at this point, as Trey Pittman puts down his first 3 of the year. But I'm not sure you can, because the way that Lynchburg is playing right now, it seems that Deshaun Cook is playing it just a little bit better. Obviously, he's comfortable pushing the ball as well.
Well, Pittman had 2 threes against Mary Washington a year ago, finished with 8 points in that contest. Quickly, it was Mary Washington up on the other side. Algayer with a good look inside, could not quite finish, but does draw the foul. Looks like we will have our first free throws of the night coming from Emmanuel Algayer.
Yeah, and you can see right there just that matchup issue that we talked about earlier. Algayer just gets in there, and obviously he's a big, strong body, so it's going to be tough to defend him in the paint.
When we were just talking about Deshaun Cook and his speed and ability at pushing the pace, he just did so there. Doesn't directly create an opportunity, but gets Lynchburg defense a little bit out of sorts, essentially trying to beat them at their own game. It's Algayer puts in the first of 2. More subs coming on for Mary Washington as well as Lynchburg. It's going to be Elijah Davis checking in for Lynchburg. Of course, the son of North Carolina men's basketball head coach Hubert Davis.
Yeah, and he's someone that we're very excited to see how he can perform this year. Obviously, we know they're going to go deep into this bench, so minutes are going to be split pretty evenly across the roster, but it'll be very interesting to see how he can step up for this team this year.
On the other side, Dorian Davis checks in. 6'2" freshman guard, getting his first collegiate minutes here tonight, as well as, so that's Rousen back into the game. Corner 3, up and in. Tack on another 3 for Lynchburg.
And Pearson Young's first points as a Hornet. I could not imagine a better spot to do it.
And then quickly forcing the turnover here on the near baseline, the near sideline. And there you go, you see, creating a good shot opportunity, quickly hustle back on the defensive end, and you're able to rattle your opponent, force a turnover. Have a hunch we're going to see a lot of those tonight.
And you could see just how important it was to make that shot, obviously, for the points, but to set up your full court pressure defense as well.
Contested three does not draw iron there from Miles Taylor, his first shot of the year. It's McCravey swinging back, top of the key to the freshman Davis. Ball poked free. Loose ball, extra pass, Landon Sutton. And no basket. Foul will be called, and 2 shots coming for Landon Sutton.
And right there, they get out in transition, push the ball. Obviously, there was a little bit different coming off a turnover, so it was 2-on-1. Landon Sutton pushing the pressure right there, trying to get to the rim, and obviously creates 2 points for himself. He didn't make the basket, trying to make that old-fashioned 3-point play, but 2 points, very important.
Sutton had a big role in his freshman season. 6 points, 14 assists, and 3 steals. Highlighted his sophomore campaign last year against William Peace. He's a 1,600-point scorer in high school. Certainly capable of being an offensive piece for this Hornet team. Goes with the strong take and is rewarded with 2 free throws, on which he converts both. And here comes the full court press once again that you just touched on, Andrew. Mary Washington beats it. A corner 3 of their own will not drop. Taylor has the rebound immediately across the line. Corner 3, Sutton did not look like that one drew iron either. Pittman secures the rebound. Turnaround jumper. That will not go. Rebound secured by Mary Washington, and Lynchburg content to fall back into its defense, though Elijah Davis will pick up Zach Blue at midcourt. And going up strong, Pittman able to alter that shot, comes back the other way. Pittman now has it top of the key, swings corner, Miles Taylor, 3, give it to him! Miles Taylor from the corner, and the threes are raining here in Turner Gymnasium.
We knew they would take a lot of them. We just weren't sure how many would drop early on. It didn't look like many, but since then, they've really been turning it on.
They've seemed to like that corner spot so far. Corner 3 on the other side there for Davis. Will not drop as the script has flipped a little bit here. Lynchburg taking the lead on that last 3 ball. Now here comes another one. That's Elijah Davis. That one is high and off. Foul called on Lynchburg. We're going to get the chance to see a couple more subs. It's going to be number 20, Mason McCovic, coming in for Lynchburg. And Deshaun Cook will check back in for the Eagles, along with Eric Procise. Cook, again, got out to that hot start, got a quick breather.
And even a little break like that for a substitution it's a good spot for, obviously, this Hornet defense to set up and just kind of relax, take a little bit of a breath.
And ref's gonna call a travel there. It's unfortunate because it looked like Rosen had Procise wide open there in the corner. They've been working it to that corner already so far tonight. Just doesn't see him, tries to take it himself and kind of gets lost in transition. Ball awarded back to Lynchburg.
But maybe that was just a little bit of Rosen trying to force something. Obviously, since the media timeout, they've only scored 2 points. So Lynchburg on a little bit of a run. Maybe he was just trying to get themselves back in the game.
Makovic there working on the inside a little bit. Haven't seen that a lot. Now pushing on the break for Mary Washington. Cook drew some contact, no call, goes inside. There's some contact and the foul. Mary Washington, more specifically Daniel Peterson, heading to the line for a chance at a 3-point play.
And Daniel Peterson last year when these two teams met played a pretty big role. Last year he also led the team with 8 rebounds. And you can just see right there just how strong and controlled he is going up. Mason McCovic put some pretty good pressure on that shot, but just the calm hands of Mary Washington trying to just push themselves back into the lead here.
When you see them, they've done a great job so far of keeping their cool. Obviously, Lynchburg's got them running up and down the court. They've pushed the pace a little bit themselves, but absolutely no fear from this Mary Washington team, not backing down from whatever Lynchburg wants to throw at them.
But I'm not sure there's many players in the country that would want to turn down the ability to play quick.
And Savage back into the game during that last free throw immediately on the offensive end, then forces the steal. Shot goes up, foul called. Shot will not drop for Fitch, but he will get a chance at his first free throws of the day.
And we talked about it earlier, just how important it is to set up that full court pressure defense. Even though when they miss a shot, they're still pressuring early, it's just that much more important to pressure the inbound. You see the shot there from Savage from the baseline, and then immediately following that, put some pressure on the inbound pass and got that steal.
Kevon James will check in once again for Lynchburg, along with Parham. Second free throw up and good for Fitch, and here comes the press once more. And another forced turnover. There's Savage, shot will not drop, and then a block coming in from Rosen. He blocks away the shot of Kevon James. Ball goes back to Savage, he gets caught in the air. As James knifes into the lane, once again the shot won't drop. Once again an offensive rebound on Lynchburg, and it is rewarded with another trip to the free throw line. This time it will be Mason Makovic.
And the way they spread the floor there, trying to move the ball quickly around the perimeter, opened that space in there for Makovic to get that rebound.
Makovic certainly been doing the work inside so far for Lynchburg. We touched on the rebounding piece, but it goes further than just the rebounds when you miss TC Thacker. You also lose a great shot blocker, and more than that, just a big interior presence that can draw a lot of defenders inside to him. He often drew double teams, so where does this Lynchburg team look to go to replace that? Makovic certainly shouldering a lot of that duty so far here tonight as he makes the first.
Yeah, and when we met with Coach Hillary Scott earlier in the week, he did say that he's trying to move to a more positionless game of basketball, not trying to have a center or trying to replace TC Thacker, because obviously you can't replace a preseason honorable mention for an All-American spot.
And once again, active hands here early from Lynchburg. This team is jazzed up and ready to go. That's 3 straight possessions that Lynchburg has disrupted inbounds passes. It's going to draw a timeout here from Mary Washington. We're going to stay here. And Andrew, while we have a break to catch our breath, obviously the players as well, what's sticking out to you so far and just how these two teams have attacked the first now 11 and a half minutes of this game?
Well, I think early on, Mary Washington really showed that they could compete and play at that fast pace, but once Lynchburg settled in and realized that they can play at the pace too, they've really shown that they can dominate this game. And I would say Mary Washington hasn't even been on their attacking side in almost a minute now, maybe 2 minutes, as Lynchburg playing some strong defense in the front court.
Well, one thing that Coach Scott mentioned to us in that conversation earlier this week, they're looking for, the way he deemed it was death by 1,000 paper cuts type approach on offense. Said he'd be totally happy if he has a bunch of guys that average close to 8 to 10 points a game. Doesn't feel like this team needs a dominant scorer, and that's been the case so far. Trey Pittman leads all scorers for Lynchburg with 5, and then it's 4 for Jordan Parham, 3 for Miles Taylor, 3 for Pearson Young. Very balanced attack so far as Cook pushing in transition, cannot quite finish there. Ball's gonna go to Fitch, who quickly puts up that shot. Didn't look like he quite got his feet set, and ball immediately swings back over to Mary Washington. It's Precise getting this play into motion. Foul gonna be called once again on Lynchburg. Looks like that one's gonna go against Alex Fitch.
I do believe that'll be Alex Fitch's second foul, so maybe seeing him check out here.
Certainly. Foul comes in handy in a way, as you saw Rosen rolling off the ball towards the basket. Would have been a wide open layup had it not been for the double team obstructing the vision there. As Fitch indeed will check out, Miles Taylor comes in place. And that's something that the positionless approach allows you to do. You don't feel like when you play this fast, you have to necessarily, you're more okay giving up size. You're more okay going with more of a small ball approach because you know you can run. And the goal here is to outrun your opponent. Lynchburg done a pretty good job of that so far.
Yeah, exactly. And you haven't really seen anyone try and step up and take a bunch of shots that would be for their own personal gain. Everyone kind of playing that team game, and they said they bought into it, and they're really showing that they have.
Blue, the junior, goes 1 of 2 at the line. Lynchburg immediately pushing. As Savage loses possession there. Diving on the floor to go get it was Rosen, and he does come up with it. Makovic all over Peterson. Ball swings to Rosen. Does not draw anything, maybe a little bit of the net. Scramble for the ball. Ref will say last touched by Mary Washington.
And I think a lot of that started with the pressure that Mason Makovic put on the Mary Washington offense out on the perimeter. We talked about how he can defend and play on the inside, but we haven't really seen him defend out there, and he's done a pretty good job to this point.
Lynchburg back in motion. Ball stripped away by Blue and awarded back to Mary Washington. Just stripped it clean there from Savage. Good play defensively there. Heads up by Mary Washington. We have a stoppage in play. Conversation between Cook and the official. James already ready in his defensive stance, marking up Cook. Rosen takes his time, surveys the floor. Do-it-all guy for this Mary Washington team. Pass nearly intercepted there by Makovic. Instead, it falls to the hands of Cook. James all over him. And the craftiness of Cook gets him to the basket, able to lay that one in. And how Cook so far in this one has been simply just fantastic. Goes up amongst the trees and nabs a rebound there.
Yeah, he's really shown why he was the player to watch today for Mary Washington. Scored 16 last time these two teams met last year, and he's well on his way to do that again today.
Active hands, that time by Savage, and the ball will be awarded to Lynchburg, much to the appreciation of this home crowd. It's going to be Makovic checking out in place of Jalen Hargrove. As the players continue to cycle in and out here for Lynchburg. It was already used 11 players today. We expect to see 12 to 13 from the Lynchburg side. Precise, creating space for himself, and knocks down the jumper just inside the three-point line.
It's kind of felt the last couple of minutes that the game has really slowed down. Lynchburg not looking to push as much as long they're not getting those quick rebounds and turnovers on the other side.
Very few stoppages of play as we're already close to 6 minutes remaining here in this first half. Have yet to hit the under 8 timeout here today. Ball feed goes inside to Rosen, kicks back out now to the corner. Cook once again showing no fear. Draws the blocking foul as well, and he will head to the line looking for one more. What a day for Deshaun Cook early on still in this one. He has been simply fantastic, and speaking of that under 8 timeout, we have finally hit it here. With 5:57 remaining in the first half, we'll take it with them, and we'll be right back here for the close of the first half on LHSN. back here on LHSN, where basketball season has finally come around. Just 5:57 to go here in this first half. Mary Washington Eagles with a slight lead over the Lynchburg Hornets. It's been back and forth so far, just as we suspected. And it's Deshaun Cook here at the line. That one goes off. It was the and one try. Ball will be rebounded by Peterson and stay with Mary Washington. Swings immediately back out to Cook, as he is clearly the designated facilitator of this offense. Back to that corner. And Young got hands on it. Will stay with Lynchburg. Another pull-up shot from Precise. Will not drop. And it's Young with the rebound in transition. Parham thought about swinging that one more pass into the corner, thought better of it, took the shot himself.
Yeah, and thus far we haven't seen many of those bad shots that we've warned Lynchburg about, but I mean, not really falling to this point, only 25 points when we've seen them put up more than 100 in the inter squad, but you know, still taking good shots just because they're not going in doesn't mean that you're playing bad basketball.
That was the 17th three-pointer so far for Lynchburg. Is on the other side. Rosen, who's been relatively quiet, but obviously coming back from a year of injury, draws contact there. Gets Hargrove in the air with the pump fake. As you see here, just the slight hesitation, gets Hargrove caught in the air, and you are rewarded with 2 free throws at the line.
Yeah, and that'll be the second foul on Jalen Hargrove. Just over 5 minutes remaining in this first half.
Expect him to hit the bench. Trey Pittman waiting to come in. And in will come Trey Pittman.
And then for the first time as a Hornet, Jason Easton making his Lynchburg debut.
And Emmanuel Algayer back in place of Daniel Peterson for Mary Washington. One more free throw coming here for Rosen. Rosen 1 of 4 from the floor tonight. Hits on that second free throw. Those were his first 2 of the game. And that one goes out of bounds. Unforced turnover. Ball will head back to Mary Washington.
Yeah, and good defense there by Algayer just to kind of force him towards the baseline. And if you haven't been in the game to this point, you don't know just how the atmosphere is on the court. It's tough to adjust, but I'm sure he'll find his footing out there, especially with Algayer guarding him.
Algayer mismatch with Savage. Finds the open Precise. That shot comes up a little short. Entry pass a little behind Young. Makes a move to the inside. Tries to draw contact. Cannot. The ball will stay with Lynchburg. Knocked out by Mary Washington. But talking about Algayer, he's one of those guys that may not always show up in the box score. Not a starter here tonight for Mary Washington, but he impacts the game every time he steps on the field, or excuse me, on the court, having to transition from being out there on Schellenberger Field. As that inbounds pass is picked off by Blue, goes to Rosen. Ball is stripped, will stay with Mary Washington.
Yeah, and both teams at this point showing their quick hands. Obviously, they've been working on getting some steals over the offseason, and they're both trying to force some turnovers in the early going.
Mary Washington, a team that shared the ball very efficiently last season. Lynchburg, a team trying to share the ball a little more efficiently than it did last season. Averaged just 11 assists a game last year as Blue, his shot up and in. Mary Washington lead extends to 5.
And we've kind of seen 3 different runs. One from Mary Washington to start out the game. Obviously, the pace was slower then. And then the middle of the game, in the middle of the first half, there is a player down there that is...
It's going to be Eric Precise. Went up to contest the shot of Young. Waved to the bench.
Yeah, it's not something you want to see in the first game of the year.
Absolutely not. Scott, Coach Hillary Scott for Lynchburg, taking the moment to share a brief word with his team. As the Mary Washington team gathers, check on their teammate, help him to the sideline, hope he's okay.
But for Coach Hillary Scott, you have to think that he's been pretty happy so far. Obviously, you talked by death by a million paper cuts, but 9 different Hornets have been in the scoring calling so far. So I would say that they're doing what they want to do. shots not falling to the extent that they hoped, but they're only down 5 with under 4 minutes left in the first half.
9-0 run currently going for Mary Washington, and they are back on the offensive end. Cook tried to get the edge there on Parham. Parham able to quell that run. It's Pittman matching up on Algayer down low. Looking for a great look there in the corner. Couldn't corral the pass. And this Lynchburg defense has been so active, they force another turnover. It's Parham in transition. Goes high off the glass. Shot will not drop. Foul called on the floor. And 2 shots coming for Jordan Parham.
And you see how just how difficult it is to defend this team in transition. Jordan Parham obviously has the pace to get out there ahead of players. See here, he gets out in front of Rosen. And just because Rosen was a little bit behind him, obviously, it's going to force a foul.
Parham's first 2 free throw attempts coming here. He's good on the first one. 4 points so far today for Parham. That will be his 5th. Stops this 9-0 Mary Washington run. Draws Lynchburg to within 4. Make that 3 as Parham goes 2 for 2 on his first trip for the line. And now leads all Hornets with 6. Lynchburg backing off on this pressure just a little bit. That, of course, relative. Cameron McCravey able to get the ball across with relative ease compared to the rest of the game. Find a wide open Cook for 3. Money.
And already reaching that 16-point mark today. You can see just how meaningful he is to this Eagles squad.
Cook averaged just 12 points a season ago. Second for the Eagles in scoring. And a quick 16. He has been the energy so far for this Mary Washington team.
And I think it just might be because he likes to play at the pace that Lynchburg is playing at. Obviously, we saw it in the early going that he was doing a little better than the Hornets.
And a foul, it's gonna be on Mary Washington. And it's going to go against McCravey. So ball will go back to Lynchburg. It's gonna be the 6th team foul on Mary Washington.
And Davis and Savage both checking back into the game for the Hornets.
So it's Davis, Savage, Sutton, Young, and Pittman on the floor for Lynchburg. That ball swings to Young. He's able to create space, knifing through the lane and finishes right at the basket. 2 more for the freshman.
And we questioned how much these freshmen were going to get some playing time, and obviously they're showing that they are a meaningful player on this team.
Then on the other end, Young coming in late to contest that shot by Cook. Cook leaves that one a little short. And it's Peterson immediately back in to spell Algayer. Peterson's been a force down low. He will pair with Rosen. Brother of Greg Rosen, Andrew Rosen, also in the game, wearing number 12. Then, of course, Cook and McCravey, the 2 guards. There's a 3 from Elijah Davis, and he is fired up.
And that's already the 10th player on this Hornets team to get in the scoring column.
Lynchburg spreading the wealth offensively. Active hands on the defensive end. Ball finds its way to the corner. The wing. That shot goes up from McCravey. Does not drop. Immediately Lynchburg setting up an offense. Savage took it down low, pulls back out. Ball swings to Davis. He finds Pittman down low. Pittman, shot sent back. But he stays with it. The follow-up shot will drop for Trey Pittman.
And it is very helpful that I do believe he might be the tallest player on the court right now. So we talked about how undersized they might be in comparison to this Mary Washington team, but they're really not showing it to this point.
Ball nearly goes off the fingertips of Andrew Rosen. Collects it. Swings back to Cook. All offense has flown through Cook so far. Peterson, the big man, a 3. It will not drop. There was Young trying to make a play. Ball pinballs off several players. Elijah Davis urging on the crowd. It is loud in this gym, I tell you what.
Yeah, Coach Hillary Scott definitely picked a good game to make the Code Red game.
When we talked to him about it, he said that he wanted to showcase this new offensive system, offensive intensity, for lack of a better word. Wanted to show the students and fans of this Lynchburg team a very exciting brand of basketball, was anxious to unveil this new style of play. And the hope is that you come out here today, you play well against a really good opponent from in-state, obviously out of conference, and you get these people to come back for more. It's a team that went 14-12 a year ago, more than respectable, but they are ready to take the next step.
And I think to this point that those hopes that Coach Hillary Scott they're coming to fruition. Packed house here tonight, and I can imagine that if this is how every game is going to be in terms of pace and playing and just energy from the team, I could imagine having crowds like this almost every night.
Davis goes 1 of 2 there at the line. Brings his scoring total to 4 on the day. Ball swings down low. What a cut from Cook. He's able to finish right at the basket. How about 2 more for Deshaun Cook? He's been electric for this Mary Washington team. That savage pass to the corner, broken up. Only 9 seconds remaining here in this first half. Be really interesting to see what Lynchburg draws up, especially now you get a chance to inbound it under your own basket. That can be tough. They will inbound from the sideline. That makes things a little easier, opens up the floor a little bit. Obviously 9 seconds, no rush here, but Lynchburg's been in a rush all day, so it'll be interesting to see if they go fast or slow.
Yeah, and the shooter Parham back in the game for the Hornets.
Parham lines one up. Looked good, will not drop. Now Mary Washington at the horn will draw nothing, and that concludes this first half of the season between Lynchburg and Mary Washington. We're going to step aside, but when we come back, we will have team comparisons, highlights, and a whole lot more right here on LHSN.
A lot of people go to the universities to find something to be a part of while getting their education. And when you come here, Lynchburg is that something, it becomes a family. It doesn't matter how long ago you had your professor, they still remember you and they remember all of the hard work that you put in. They're always there for you and they always want to do the best that they can to help you succeed. Here you learn how to love one another regardless of what's going on or what you believe. You leave here better than what you came in. It's what the school's really good at doing.
Okay. You're good.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer at a competitive level, but also it's given me the ability to be a student and to pursue other activities such as EMS. "100% do Westover because it's not something they're going to regret, and it's going to be a lot of work, but so is everything else. It's just going to help build their education that they've already had and make them a better person for it."
When you come to the University of Lynchburg to earn a master's degree in athletic training, you'll spend time in the classroom, but you'll also spend a lot of time in our top-notch facilities, learning from athletic trainers and working closely with our student athletes. In the Graduate Cadaver Lab, you'll learn about the human body in the best way possible, by actually studying the human body. This will provide a foundation to make you a much better athletic trainer. In the athletic training laboratory, you'll get hands-on experience, practicing your skills, applying concepts from the classroom, and working with faculty on research projects. It's also where our hydrotherapy facilities are. This space is also used by students for studying and practicing skills outside of class time. In the Sports Medicine Clinic and Turner Gymnasium, you'll work with student athletes from more than 20 NCAA Division III sports teams, helping get them back to practice and into the game as soon as possible. As an athletic training student, you're a big part of the success of our sports teams and the success of the local athletic teams. We see this relationship as a win-win situation. You learn, and that helps us win.
Well, back and forth first half here inside Turner Gymnasium. No more fitting score than a knotted up 35-35, which is what we have at the break. Gives us a chance to take a look at some of these first half team stats. Comparison here on Lynchburg and Mary Washington.
Yeah, I think most interesting that I've seen so far is we were wondering how many turnovers would be created and how many would be committed. However, Lynchburg playing in the fast-paced offense, only 6 turnovers to this point, which I could imagine might be below or just at the average of last year playing at a slower pace. So, and then forcing 11 on the side of Mary Washington.
Well, and the first thing that stands out too is that field goal percentage. Obviously, Mary Washington shooting at a great clip, but you turn the ball over double the amount of times that this Lynchburg team has, and that's where Lynchburg's able to make up 31% from the field. If you're Coach Scott, you'd certainly like a slightly higher clip than that. Now, you're taking a lot of three-point shots, obviously 21% from behind the arc. But if you can keep those turnover numbers at this pace, right around that 10 to 12 mark, you really set yourself up for success. Now taking a look at the individual stats, a plethora of scores on both sides, but it is Trey Pittman for the Hornets leading the way with 7 points. 4 players for Lynchburg: Trey Pittman, Jordan Parham, Miles Taylor, and Landon Sutton, each with an assist apiece. Rebounding is led by Jordan Parham with 5. And on the Mary Washington side of things, who other than Deshaun Cook, 16 points at the break to pair with 5 rebounds and 2 assists. He's done it all for the Eagles. Cook, Peterson, and Andrew Rosen three-way tie in the lead with 2 assists apiece, and it's Greg Rosen. 7 rebounds there in the first frame. The Eagles have certainly controlled things down low, both from an offensive and defensive side of things. You would think that if they can continue to hammer that on both sides, backdoor cuts, entry-level passes, give and goes, that's been the key to success so far on offense for the Eagles. And on defense, pack the paint and prevent any shots there. Try to keep as much going from the three-point line as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to these individual stats, player to watch for Lynchburg, Savage, only 2 points, both coming off of free throws. So we haven't even seen what he can do to this point. And the same thing on Mary Washington's side with Greg Rosen, only 3 points to this point. Obviously has 7 rebounds, but both are going to look to step it up in the second half, and I'm sure they're going to come out stronger than they did in the first.
We're going to step aside once more when we return. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from that first half of action here on LHSN.
Look what you're missing.
It really don't matter to me. I'm just happy to be here. I might go crazy.
I was looking for a school that could provide me with the athletics, academics to pursue my career, a wind symphony to pursue my passion for music, and really have a nice general atmosphere. The professors here are really unique, their background and their passion for teaching. It's really a place where you can explore. Lynchburg gives you the opportunity to fail, but also get back up in that period of time and learn from your mistakes. I can make these mistakes within the school environment, but also with the support of other friends, and be ready for the real world when you graduate.
No shortage of entertainment in that first half. We hit the halftime mark, tied up 35-35. Take a look at some of these highlights from an action-packed first half. They're precise with the step back. Pittman with the J. Coming up next, it's the second half of action here on LHSN.
living the dream. USA, Mexico. That was so exciting.
Welcome back for the second half of action here inside Turner Gymnasium. Lynchburg and Mary Washington. Sam Graham alongside Andrew Watson as we get ready for this second half of play. And Andrew, we certainly expected three-point shots to go up, well, especially on the Lynchburg side, but really for both of these teams. And they certainly did in that first half. Lynchburg ended up taking, 19 for Lynchburg, 12 for Mary Washington. But a lot of this game was controlled by the inside too.
Yeah, it was. Mary Washington doing a good job of controlling where Lynchburg is going to shift on defense and putting up 11 of their 14 field goals from inside the paint, and they've been pretty much dominant inside.
Great ball movement to get things going for Mary Washington, and great ball movement generally leads to great shot opportunities. Greg Rosen with the three. We are off and rolling in this second half on LHSN. Parham trying to answer on the other side, cannot. Rebounded by Hargrove, makes a strong move, charge going the other way. That's going to be the third on Hargrove.
Yeah, and good on him to get the offensive rebound, but it's always tough when someone sets their feet outside of that restricted area and you just can't do anything about that.
You certainly want your team to be aggressive, and Lynchburg has set that tone early here, but can't be too aggressive.
Yeah, and Jalen Hargrove just picked up his third foul. With more than 19 and a half minutes left, it's not exactly ideal for him.
He stays on the court, but again, that's a luxury that you are allowed when you are looking to play 12 to 13 guys, and you have some other guys with similar size on the bench. As how about Deshaun Cook picking up right where he left off and finishing right at the rim. A quick five for Mary Washington.
Yeah, and Deshaun Cook picking right up where he left off in the first half. Really showing that he can play.
Excuse me, three from James off the mark there. Blue goes inside, loses control of the ball, able to regain. Kicks it back out to Davis. Top of the key reset to Rosen. He makes a move at the basket and finishes down low. How about five quick ones for Rosen in his return to college basketball?
And we questioned how he would come out in the second half. Obviously settled in a little bit and he's come out strong.
Parham a three. Once again, no luck for Lynchburg on offense to start the first 2 minutes of this second half.
Yeah, and the energy from the crowd, not the same that it was when the first half ended. So maybe one bucket or a stop on the defensive end will turn that around.
Once again, Cook on the other side, and Lynchburg. Coach Hillary Scott has seen enough. Gathers his team for a timeout. We'll stay right here. How about that for Mary Washington?
Yeah, they did a great job. Obviously some great adjustments from Coach Marcus Kahn over the halftime break. But at the same time, Deshaun Cook comes out and looks like the exact same player he was. And so maybe the defensive adjustments that Lynchburg made, not so much working for him. But the main thing I've seen so far is we haven't been able to get out in transition.
Well, the ball movement has been fantastic. And yeah, if you're Mary Washington, okay, we're tied up. We've kind of gotten rolled into a sprinting match up and down the court. let's slow things down a little bit. Let's work the ball around. This is what was successful for us last year. They assisted on 55% of made baskets a year ago. And you get the ball to your playmakers. We see Rosen with a quick 5. We see Cook with a quick 2. And just like that, not even 2 minutes into the second half, Mary Washington springboards right on out to a 9-point lead, forcing Lynchburg to take an early timeout.
Yeah, and going back to the keys of the game that we talked about before this game even started is Mary Washington needed to play at their own pace. Play slowly. They weren't sure if they could run up and down the court with Lynchburg, and when Lynchburg ran in transition, they looked like the better team by far, but coming out of the second half, it has almost seemed like Lynchburg is forcing up a lot of shots. Maybe the first couple buckets for Mary Washington forcing that for the Hornets, but we'll see if they've made any adjustments over that quick timeout, and hopefully they come out a little bit stronger on the offensive end.
Well, Coach Scott was hopeful that his team would continue to commit to their new identity even in the face of adversity. They certainly faced some adversity early in the second half. Here comes another 3 from Parham, another miss for Lynchburg, another rebound for Greg Rosen. Make that now 7, I believe that's going to be 8 in the game for Rosen. But here's a turnover from Lynchburg in transition. Fitch cannot corral it. Diving on the ground is Peterson. Ball ahead to Parham, takes it himself, falling down and hits it. Jordan Parham finishing through contact. He'll go to the line for a chance at one more.
And you see just how important it was to get out in transition and force Mary Washington's hand. And Jordan Parham taking a couple three-pointers early, but right here you see him. He just controlled, takes on Deshaun Cook in the lane, and gets 2 more points.
That brings the total for Parham up to 8. He now leads all scorers for Lynchburg. For Mary Washington, it's going to be Zach Blue checking out. And it's going to be Cameron McCravey, the 5'10 senior guard out of Charlotte, North Carolina, checking in. As Parham makes good on the free throw, he's up to 9 points today. And Cook and Mary Washington once again looking to set up offense. Certainly the pace has decreased a bit here as Mary Washington able to set the tone. There's a quick shot from Rosen. Will not drop. Possibly a heat check for him. Such a hot start to this second half. Savage stuck, forced to give it up Fitch. A long 3 on the way, not quite there. And right back to Mary Washington.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be too upset with that shot. Obviously it was open, and Savage got caught in the lane there trying to maybe force something up, but a good job by him to find the open man, and you to keep taking open shots, you'll get good looks.
Rosen finishing through a little bit of contact there from Young. Add another 2 points and a misguided pass coming from Hargrove. Looking for Parham there along the sideline. Will instead fall into the lap of the Lynchburg bench. That's going to earn Hargrove a seat on the bench. Pittman comes in place. Pittman with 7 on the day, led Lynchburg in scoring in that first half. Again, he had 8 against Mary Washington in the November 19th matchup, almost a year ago to the day.
Yeah, when Pittman came in the game in the first half, he really turned it around and picked up the pace for the Hornets. Obviously a force to be reckoned with in the paint in the first half.
Pittman, an undersized but athletic forward for this Lynchburg team, capable of playing inside and out. Great ball inside to Savage, who finishes in the lane. Lynchburg struggled a bit to finish in the painted area in the first half. Savage changing that narrative early here in the second.
And maybe that'll be the point that fires up this crowd and fires up this team, as their defense is still looking extremely aggressive and strong.
Savage gets McCravey turned around. That opens up Young to come right around behind him and poke that ball free. Then both teams jumping on the floor. Ball awarded, possession arrow pointing right to Lynchburg. But the hustle from both of these teams is apparent. The atmosphere in this gym still electric, and those fans sure like that hustle there. Young thought about the 3, thinks better, puts it on the deck. Passes up. Pittman extending his range. That shot nearly dropped, but not quite. Catches the back of the iron, and Mary Washington back to work. There's a three. Cook off the backboard and off the rim. Parham loses control there. 3-on-2 break for Mary Washington. Pass goes to Davis. Shot will not drop. Blocking foul called. That is Savage on the ground. He looks like he took the brunt of that physicality of that play. Trainers into motion on the Lynchburg sideline. Savage back on his feet. Applause from the Lynchburg fans. But at the end of it all, it will be Dorian Davis at the line with two free ones coming up here for Mary Washington.
Yeah, and Landon Sutton's going to check back in the game for the Hornets in place of Savage.
Sutton 2 points and an assist on the day. Put up just one shot, earned those 2 points at the free throw line in that first half. Dorian Davis still scoreless today. And not anymore. He puts his first point on the board of this 2022-23 campaign. Davis did not play, obviously, for this Mary Washington team a year ago. One of the freshmen they're excited about. Getting plenty of playing time here today out of Florence, South Carolina. Makes good on both of those free throws, extends the Eagle lead to 8. And the freshman has his first 2 collegiate points. Quick three from Lynchburg, that's Fitch. Off the mark, rebound inside, Taylor. Fans screaming for contact, but it will be awarded, looks like a block to Algayer in transition. Corner three, off the mark. Pittman contesting for the rebound, the smaller Cook comes away with it. Goes back up strong. How about Algayer? How about a block from Pittman? Chaos on the court. And Pittman in Lynchburg comes away with it. Taylor taking on 3 men. He and Coach Scott looking for contact on the other side. Rosen will find contact, unable to finish, but he will head to the stripe for a chance at adding 2 more to an early 10.
Yeah, and the one thing I've noticed in the early going here in the second half is that both teams are playing at a relatively fast pace. As you see Rosen pushing the ball there, and you could just see that he played with just a little bit more composure than Lynchburg has on their offensive end. But, I mean, if you're Lynchburg, you're trying to flip that momentum and maybe keep Rosen from being as composed as he goes down. Obviously, putting a lot of pressure on that shot, but he got the foul and he'll be at the line to shoot too. But, I mean, at the end of the day, putting that pressure on that attacking player for Mary Washington is always a good thing for Lynchburg, regardless of the outcome.
Well, Rosen has been fantastic thus far in this second half as he hits the first of these 2 free throws. And again, a guy coming off a whole season missed due to injury. Sometimes you might be a little bit anxious in your first time back to really go at that full 100% speed. Again, you can, participate in scrimmages, practices, exhibition games even. Nothing replicates the real thing. But Rosen clearly finding his footing here in the second half. It's given this Mary Washington team a huge lift as they push the lead to double figures here for the first time today. Now getting active on defense, but Fitch ends up coming away with it. Sutton and the Lynchburg offense, the most meticulous we've seen so far today. How about Algayer, the top of the key, forcing the turnover on Pittman. Ball finds its way back to Algayer. Fitch comes soaring in for the block. It's going to be called a foul. We're going to see Algayer head to the free throw line for the second time today.
And I believe that will be the 3rd foul on Alex Fitch. Good hustle by him to get back, but at the end of the day, whether it was a clean block or not, Algayer at the line to shoot 2 and try to extend that lead for Mary Washington.
Algayer 2 for 2 in his earlier trip to the line. Also scored down low to give him 4 in the first half. Makes good on the first free throw here.
And Pittman and Fitch will check out for the Hornets. Jordan Parham and Mason Makovic will check back in.
Algayer with the second awaiting. Played his first 2 years at Shepherd University. Born in Nigeria was Algayer, moved to the United States when he was 4. was a critical factor for this Mary Washington team a year ago. That second free throw does not find the bottom of the net. Quickly Lynchburg in transition. Sutton, good look to Young. That one rattles off. Makovic on the rebound, inside, cannot finish, but he will draw contact.
It seems like every time Makovic has come into the game tonight, he's been a force to reckon with in the paint. He's been able to defend on the perimeter, and whether he's scoring at a clip that is, above his pay grade, I'm not sure, but he's really showing his presence out there on the court.
Makovic just 2 points tonight. Those two did come at the free throw line earlier. Certainly brought a level of physicality to the floor down low. He makes the first one, give him 3 on the night. Had a limited role with this Hornet team a year ago. Appeared in just 4 games, but a dual sport athlete in high school, basketball and baseball. He was an all-region and all-state player at Floyd E. Kellum High School. He goes 2 for 2 at the line there, and certainly giving this Hornet team a lift, if not on the box score, certainly with his energy and intensity.
Yeah, and for one of the first times in the second half, Lynchburg able to set up that full court pressure there.
Obviously able to set up the full court press most efficiently after a make or, again, coming off of free throws. So as much as Lynchburg can obviously get high quality shots, Makovic gets Allgaier in the air, and that one rattles out. That was Young in the corner. Young looking for his second 3 on the day, has 5 points and his first collegiate appearance.
But he's looked very composed out there, not letting this environment get to him.
Makovic, how about a steal? How about coast to coast? Lays it up. Little finger roll for the finish. Lynchburg back within 9. That got the fans back on their feet. It's always a 2 for 2, or rather a 1 for 1 agreement between a team and its fans. You expect the fans to bring the energy, but you expect the team to give the fans something to cheer about. And Lynchburg has done plenty of that so far today. You hope they can put together a little run here.
Yeah, and you have to think that so far this has been a game of runs. Mary Washington started off in the first half, and Lynchburg took over. Mary Washington has been on their run since then, but...
Backdoor cut! Goaltending called on Allgaier. How about 2 more for Makovic? How about a quick 6 for Makovic? Savage going to check back in for Young. Glad to see he's okay. But how about Mason Makovic? Again, a limited role just a year ago. Coming in today, didn't start, but showing absolutely no fear. Banging down low, really shouldering a lot of the load for this Lynchburg team inside the paint.
Oh yeah, it's great because you've seen a lot of new guys step up this year, just through this first half of the game pretty much, and you would not have expected that from last season.
Certainly not. The offense goes into Allgaier. He draws the defense. Shot ends up being blocked away out of bounds. Will retain possession over to Mary Washington. That was McCravy's shot. That was blocked. McCravy has not gotten on the board yet. The only Mary Washington Eagle who has played so far, and there's going to be a foul on a 3. That does come from Makovic. It's going to send Zach Blue to the line, where he is 1 of 2 tonight.
And it's the same thing we saw in the first half. Lynchburg just a little late on those defensive shifts. Obviously Makovic was there, but moving towards that shooter, and you can't end up in his landing space. So
make that 1 for 3 for Zach Blue now at the line. Started 2 games a year ago. Makes good on the second one. 3-point specialist for this Mary Washington team. He shot 42.5% from beyond the arc a year ago. And how about 25 games as a freshman, coming in immediately making an impact for this Mary Washington team. As we will see our first media timeout of this second half. We're going to take it with them, give everybody a chance to catch their breath, and we will be right back here on LHSN.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer at a competitive level, but also it's given me the ability to be a student and to pursue other activities such as EMS. "100% do Westover because it's not something they're going to regret, and it's going to be a lot of work, but so is everything else. It's just going to help build their education that they've already had and make them a better person for it."
Welcome back inside Turner Gymnasium. 11:55 remaining in this second half of action. Mary Washington has sprung out to an 11-point lead quickly in the first 8 minutes of this second half. And Andrew, you come out in the second half and you kind of get punched in the mouth a little bit if you're Lynchburg. How do you look to get yourself back in the game? And on the flip side of that, if you're Mary Washington, how important is it that you keep your foot down on the gas?
Well, for Lynchburg, I think they just have to figure out a way to get back in transition. Maybe force a couple of difficult shots for Mary Washington on the other end. But at the same time, you also have to score, which then sets up that defense. So it's kind of difficult to make that if you're not scoring the basketball.
Allgaier works his way inside Makovic. How about another 2 points for him? Brings him to 7 on the day. That foul called before the shot. Third team foul of the second half for Mary Washington. Sent Miles Taylor to the deck. He shakes it off, all good. See Lynchburg get in motion. Inbound ball will go to Parham. Into the lane goes Sutton. That shot will not quite fall. Battle for the rebound, gets knocked out of bounds, will be awarded to Mary Washington.
Yeah, it seems like every bounce has gone the way of Mary Washington in this first 8 minutes of this second half, and that might just because Mary Washington has come out and they've really shown that in the half court, they're a better team than Lynchburg might be.
Elijah Davis checks in for the Hornets. Sends Landon Sutton to the bench. Here comes Mary Washington pushing the pace. Zach Blue took that one right into the lane, then pulls out. And it's a reset for Mary Washington. Allgaier calling for it down low on Makovic, but credit to Makovic standing his ground, trying his best to keep Allgaier out of the lane. There comes the entry pass. How about that first move from Allgaier? And he catches Makovic coming over the top. Catches that arm right on his shoulder. Gonna send Allgaier to the line for the third time today. He will be shooting his 5th and 6th free throws. And you gotta figure that's something that makes Coach Kahn and this Mary Washington staff very happy. Getting your big man to draw some fouls on Lynchburg and also get him to the line. Get some easy baskets, give everybody a chance to catch their breath.
Yeah, especially if your big man can make moves like that and make shots at the free throw line like he has today. He is 4 for 4.
Allgaier 7 points and 3 rebounds on the day. He's 3 for 4 so far. Makovic will sub out after that one. That was his 3rd personal. Peterson waiting to check in for Mary Washington at the next available opportunity. May come right after this shot. Allgaier makes good on the second. Brings his total to 8 on the day and an impressive 80% at the line.
Yeah, and Mary Washington out to their largest lead of the game at 15.
Correction there, 9 for Allgaier. 5 of 6 from the line. Hovering over 80%. How dangerous is it when you can have your big man, your focal point down low, and hey, he can knock in 83% of his free throws as well, obviously early in this season. But would be a huge plus for Coach Kahn and his staff down the road. Blue, little miscommunication by Lynchburg. Blue unable to convert on the easy layup down low, and Lynchburg's able to set things up. Taylor calling for it in the corner. Savage doesn't see him. It's going to be a three instead from Davis. That one's left short off the front iron. And where does Lynchburg go to find some offense? No dominant score. Coach Scott admitted to that. Who will take on the reins in this season opening matchup? Got a stoppage in play. Contact down low. Parham's going to be sent to the bench in place of Alex Fitch, checking back in.
I believe that foul was called on number 0, Kuda Savage.
So already Mary Washington into the bonus, just under 10 minutes into this game. It's Peterson shooting the one and one. Leaves the front one just off. If you're Lynchburg, you really need a basket here. Who will they go to? Isolation, Taylor pulls up, draws nothing, and quickly one and done for Lynchburg. Ball back to Mary Washington.
We talked about it over the break, just how dominant Mary Washington has been in the paint, and it hadn't hurt Lynchburg in the first half, but it's clearly hurt them in the second.
Lynchburg now getting out rebounded 39-28. Been a lot of one and dones on the offensive end for Lynchburg, particularly in this second half, and obviously that's going to have a tendency to happen sometimes. When you're taking shots not too close to the rim, you don't necessarily know where that ball is going to go, bouncing off in other directions. How about Rosen coming over to help on defense? Ball's eventually going to find its way to Fitch. He feeds to Pittman. Pittman, the foul. The foul's going to go on Pittman. Make it a charge, and Lynchburg cannot catch a break on offense.
Yeah, great defensive shift there from Mary Washington to make up for that turnover. But for Lynchburg, you got to be asking yourself, when is the luck going to go your way? Obviously, they're just some great defense, but nothing has seemed to go Lynchburg's way. They've only scored 11 points in the second half, and we're almost 12 minutes into this game, so it's going to be tough for them to turn this around.
Lynchburg already up to 18 fouls. The one positive there, it does give them a chance, as you talked about earlier, to set up that full court press. It worked so well in the first half. It seemed to rattle Mary Washington a little bit, led to a lot of turnovers. That's not been the case this second half. And you mentioned earlier, they haven't had as many opportunities. They do force a turnover there. But at some point, it sounds obvious, but at some point, you just have to draw something up on offense and hope somebody makes a shot.
Yeah, and I think the difference has been is that Lynchburg is, in the first half, at least definitely down the end, they were guarding the inbounder a lot more efficiently than they are now.
Davis pulls up another miss, and you'd also have to think, when we talked to Coach Scott, he really wanted his team to share the ball more than they did last year. Disappointed with that 11 assists per game number that they did finish with in last season's campaign. Not a whole lot of passing.
Yeah, and right now,
I understand you want to work the ball, you want to move fast, but have to imagine Coach Scott is going to be urging his guys to share the ball a little more. There's Cook with a three. He's been quiet since an early 4. But how about cleanup duty? 2 more for Greg Rosen. That's going to bring his total to 14, most all of them coming in the second half. Here's another deep 3 from Fitch. Again, for Lynchburg, does not drop. And very quickly, another offensive possession goes sour. Comes a timeout from Mary Washington. Imagine this can't be for anything other than to catch their breath. Zach Blue motions for that one on the way down the court. We're going to stay right here.
Yeah, to this point, Lynchburg, you said it yourself, they haven't been moving the ball as efficiently in this half as they have been. And in the inter-squad scrimmage, it really looked like they were running some sort of Chino Hill style offense, winging the ball all over the court. But Mary Washington has really put the clamps down and said, no, we're going to play at our pace. We're not going to try and run the ball with you. This is our game to have, and they've shown that they could play at their pace and win basketball games. And Lynchburg they just haven't adjusted to it in the second half yet.
Well, certainly you hear the phrase all too often, live by the 3 and die by the 3. And in that first half, as a team, Lynchburg not fantastic from 3-point range, but they do end up going 4 for 19, 21% That percentage is now 4 of 31. They have yet to make a shot in the second half, 0 for 12.
And a lot of them haven't been super contested. Obviously, the last one they took, not exactly the best shot, coming down and taking a quick three from almost the Hornet logo, but
Fitch selling out for the steal there, doesn't come up with it. Allows Cook a journey right through the lane. How about Deshaun Cook? What more can you say? Another 2 points for him. That'll take him to 22. He's been quiet for a bit, but he's going to have a chance to add one more at the line.
Yeah, and we talked about where Mary Washington was going to go. Obviously, Lynchburg came out, and they've relatively locked down Deshaun Cook. This is only his 4th point, and now his 5th in the second half. But Greg Rosen has stepped up. Emmanuel Agayer has stepped up, and it seems like Mary Washington knew Deshaun Cook was going to be pressured and looked other places.
We had a 35-35 game. Quite a few minutes ago, you remarked that Lynchburg's still stuck at that 46, just 11 points in the second half, but it's really nothing more complex than some good looks aren't falling. Obviously, in some systems, you want to be a little bit more deliberate and take your time and run through your offense, but that's not what this Lynchburg team's looking to do. It's by design that these possessions are quick. They're trying to speed up their opponent, in this case Mary Washington, into making mistakes, and they were able to do that in the first half. But in the second half, nothing's really changed on the offensive end. The shots just aren't falling.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it before, is just if those shots were falling, obviously the game would be a little closer than it is, but it also gives them a chance to set up that full court pressure. And they haven't had that opportunity in this second half, obviously scoring only 11 points, so eventually they'll fall, but it might just be a little bit too late for them.
Blue deflects that inbounds pass from Savage. Ball makes its way down the court, eventually gets stripped away by Fitch as Rosen was looking to add 2 more and match his 16-point per game that he averaged in his last complete season. Instead, it's going to be a 3 from Dorian Davis, the freshman, adding 3 more. He's got 5 on the day. His first collegiate appearance, playing very meaningful minutes for Coach Kahn's squad. And now Mary Washington, with just about 6.5 minutes to go in this one, they can start to take their time, ensure they don't make too many mistakes.
And we talked about it in the first half, just how careful Lynchburg was with the ball. Only 6 turnovers, but now we look and they have 21 for the game, so 15 in this half, and that was our key in the second half. If they can keep the ball and they can play with composure but with the same pace, they'd be able to compete with this Mary Washington team, but those turnovers are just proven to be just a little bit too much, as Mary Washington has proven that they can score off of those turnovers.
Rosen still sitting at 14 after that first free throw is off the mark. Mary Washington looking to double their offensive output from the first half, still with 6.5 minutes to go in this game. But how about Greg Rosen today, the senior returning here for his final season, picking up right where he left off, 15 on the day. 14 on the day.
Yeah, and we were worried about him in the first half in the case that he looked a little bit careful out there, obviously trying to just ease himself back in. When you don't play for that long, it's always tough to readjust to an atmosphere like this, especially, I'm not sure you'd see an atmosphere like it was in the first half in anywhere in D3, but he's really come out here in the second half and made this game his.
Certainly, as once again, Lynchburg cannot find any luck on the offensive end as Young's free throw rattles right around and out. Rosen, the senior from Fairfax, Virginia, he's been fantastic in the second half, and that's got to be really encouraging for Mary Washington as they look down the rest of their schedule. Got a contest with preseason #1 Randolph-Macon on down the line, as well as several other highly touted ODAC foes. #4 Christopher Newport, a member of the Coast to Coast Conference, certainly expected to be good. They'll be the next matchup for this Lynchburg team, so things certainly don't get any easier for Lynchburg. Trip to recently moved Division I Queens over in Charlotte. not too far off in the horizon for Lynchburg either.
Yeah, usually when you're switching to a new offensive system, you hope for some easy games to kind of just ease your way into the season, but Coach Hillary Scott obviously knew what his team could have, and they scheduled a great schedule. So at the end of the day, maybe you find your way into some wins, and Alex Fitch back on the scoreboard for Lynchburg.
Finally, a 3 drops for Lynchburg. It took over 14 minutes, but they find their first triple of this second half. Comes thanks to Alex Fitch. Absolutely no give up in this Lynchburg team. Down 20 currently. There's going to be a missed shot, rebounded by Fitch. Parham pushing. Inside, outside. The outside kick goes to Savage. That shot bounces right out. A tale that's becoming all too familiar for Lynchburg.
Yeah, and you see right there that they're still applying that defensive pressure, but it is so much more difficult to set it up off a rebound, especially a long rebound just like that one, when Mary Washington can push it in transition on their own and get their offense set up before Lynchburg is even ready to pressure.
One of the key components, I think, too, of the second half that's flown a little under the radar as we do see this 20-point lead now for Mary Washington. When you're able to come out as the opponent, another 2 points for Rosen, getting pretty much everything he wants right now. He's up to 16. But back to as I was saying, when you can come out and completely change the tone of a game as the away team, kind of take the air out of the crowd. I mean, we've just seen a relatively lackluster second half here from Lynchburg. It's just not a whole lot's going right. And if you can take what was a fantastic crowd, energy was incredible in here in that first half. You're able to flip the script a little bit there, and obviously has been no let up. Foot firmly fixed on the gas here for Mary Washington. Back at the line now. Looking for a couple more is Zach Blue. He makes the first.
And while it doesn't look too great for Lynchburg, obviously down 23 points inside of 5 minutes to go, I think the first half really shows them, and going back to practice, obviously they're going to go on the road and play against the number 4 team in the country in Christopher Newport next week, but it really shows them that they can compete. Obviously Mary Washington, a coast-to-coast finalist last year, ended up losing to Christopher Newport in the championship game, but being tied with this squad, especially with a new offense, is always a good thing, even if it's only at halftime.
Well, Andrew, talk to me as though you're a coach. You know, we both sat down with Coach Scott earlier this week, and he obviously told us that he wanted his team with this new style, this new identity, wanted him to stay committed to it, even with adversity, no matter what happens. Stay true to your new brand. I think they've definitely done that in this game. But now you look up at the scoreboard, it's a 75-50 margin. You got 4.5 minutes. What are you telling your guys as you approach here this last couple minutes of regulation?
Well, I think you would be worried that maybe a game like this would maybe take them out of that belief in their new offense, but at the same time, I think you can cut it down to say that they weren't able to get out in transition. Today, Mary Washington really closed down those abilities in the second half and played a little bit of a slower brand of basketball. And for Lynchburg, you can kind of look at that two ways. I mean, yes, you got thrown out of your offense, but at the same time, when you were able to run the offense that you prepared for, you were playing with a team with such good quality as Mary Washington. So I think there's a lot of positive to draw from, and I think Coach Hillary Scott is going to see that. But for the team, they just have to believe that they can play well.
It's Parham missing there on the technical free throw. Throws up another out of frustration. Things have quieted down a whole lot here inside Turner Gymnasium. Just not a whole lot going right for the Hornets. But back to your point about Coach Scott, when we were talking about the schedule, it's no secret that it's really tough, especially up front. You're going to have several really tough games within the conference slate as well. When you think about a number 1 Randolph-Macon, you think about a Hampton-Sydney and a Roanoke. The list really goes on. But he was clear to say that regardless of what happens in this first portion, regardless of what happens in these first couple games, he said, I have faith that we will be a much better team when we finish than wherever we start. And that kind of goes with the territory when you've got guys that have been used to playing one certain way and tweak that a little bit. You change how you want to play. And not to mention, the physical aspect, the nature of trying to play so up-tempo and push the pace. It's not easy. It's not easy to adjust your body to. And he was confident that his team, as this year pushes on, will start to find confidence and find themselves within that identity, and thinks that that will translate into some really good things down the road.
Yeah, and especially if you can do it at the highest level. Obviously, they're going to play a really tough schedule, but while that could lead them to some lows, it could also lead them to some great highs. If you go on the road and you play with a number 4 Christopher Newport, or you play with Randolph-Macon, I mean, there is some belief there that even if you're in competition with these teams and you prove that you can be there, that changes how everyone looks at you. It changes how you look at yourself. So it's important that they don't just give up after one bad result.
Well, certainly, and you're looking at a Lynchburg team that took a lot of threes a year ago. Obviously have taken a whole lot here today, but I mean, just a year ago, this is a team that went 32.5% on three-pointers. Today, they're 14.3%. They've shot 35. They made 5 of them. I mean, think about how different this game would be if you convert on that 32.5% as opposed to the 14. Let's say, all right, you're making more like 10, 11, 12. And like you've been saying, they've gotten some really good looks from 3. They just haven't dropped.
Yeah, and I think if you're Coach Hillary Scott, you're kind of looking at that as saying, I mean, this offense that we're running isn't bad considering that we have all these open shots, but at the same time, what can we do to make sure that these shots start to drop for the Hornets? But, I mean, that's not something you can change in the midst of one game, and I think with more experience, obviously not many of these guys have played meaningful minutes over the last couple of years, but it'll be very important and very interesting to see how they react moving forward.
Both of these teams got out to hot starts a year ago. For Mary Washington, they won 8 games in a row there from November 12th to December 11th. For Lynchburg, it was a 5-game win streak early on to jump out to a 6-1 start. Mary Washington, you could not be more pleased with this first performance. You've gotten great production out of your 2-star offensive pieces in Deshaun Cook and Greg Rosen. You have to be thrilled with Rosen finding himself in the second half. I mean, imagine if the level of play we've seen from him here in the second half is Makovic able to finish there in close. Good day out of Makovic here today. That's encouraging for this Lynchburg staff. But back to the Rosen point, I mean, you think if he has 2 halves like the second half has been, that's really encouraging out of a star that you're welcoming back out of a 1-year absence. So that ball goes down low, and Miles Taylor leaves that one just shy.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. It's not for a lack of good looks. I mean, Lynchburg has been having opportunities to get this game a little bit closer. Maybe not to have the lead, but still, I mean, the opportunities are there.
Got a timeout here called, 2:54 left in regulation. For Mary Washington, it would appear as though you will cruise on to a 1-0 start to the season. Can't ask for better if you are Coach Kahn and that staff. And, I mean, truly for Mary Washington, this is a game you really, really wanted to win, because you look at the upcoming schedule, you have a road test against North Carolina Wesleyan. It's always interesting to see how teams respond to their first game on the road. And then you return home for number 1 Randolph-Macon. Then you get Hampton-Sydney, another ODAC opponent, and Lynchburg's very familiar with. That's a team that's also receiving votes in the national top 25. It's not an easy road, and like we talked about earlier, for Mary Wash, you're a team with Christopher Newport in your conference. That's the number 4 team in the country preseason, so absolutely fantastic, and feels almost necessary if you're Mary Washington to get this season opening win.
And yeah, to come into an environment like this, obviously the Code Red game for Lynchburg, and they came out firing. I mean, Mary Washington they were in firm control of this game in the first half until Lynchburg went on a little bit of a run. So except for maybe 8 minutes in this game, it seems like the Eagles have really held control, and I think that maybe sends a message to the rest of the 6 or 7 ODAC teams that they'll see this year. Obviously Hampton-Sydney, Randolph-Macon, who they play in a couple weeks. We're better than people think we are, and you better not sleep on us.
Well, certainly, and Mary Washington, a team that struggled a little bit on the road a year ago. They went just 6-7. So picking up this first win on the road, now you'll go to North Carolina Wesleyan on Saturday, try to pick up a second one. That shot, no good, foul called. We're starting to see some new faces here on the floor.
And that was Mason Makovic's 4th foul there.
It's going to send Andrew Rosen to the line. He's got 2 points on the day. This is his first trip to the free throw line. Rosen, obviously the younger brother of Greg Rosen. Played in 20 games last year as a true freshman. Career high 5 points a year ago. That brings his total to 4 today.
I think one thing that's important for the Hornets to note is that Hillary Scott was very keen on sharing the wealth and showing that different people can score, and they've done that today, 10 different scores, but obviously not at the clip that they want on a total level, but showing that there are multiple people that can put the ball on the floor and get points for themselves is obviously a positive thing as they move forward.
Rosen, the turnaround, and that one spins just off as the elder Rosen was looking for his 17th and 18th points of the night. Fantastic season debut for he and Deshaun Cook in particular. But how about the impact that Algayer had on this game as well?
Yeah, and we haven't seen him in some 10, 11, 12 minutes, and yet when he was in the game, he just looked like he was a force out there. Obviously, I believe he only has 9 points, but I mean, you take his 9 points away and they're still winning, and it's because he was just a force to be reckoned with in the paint and really dominated the inside.
Looks like Makovic may have taken an arm to the face there. He's gonna wipe it off. Foul will be credited to Miles Taylor. That will be his first of the night. That's going to send Daniel Peterson back to the line. He is good on the first. Now 3 of 5 from the line. Mass substitutions coming in for the Hornets. Landon Sutton checks back in along with Elijah Davis, Jason Easton, and Matt Johnson. Makovic remains in for Lynchburg. Two for 2 there from Peterson. Puts him in double figures, so 3 double-figure scores tonight from Mary Washington. Algayer nearly got there with 9. Limited playing time, though, for him. Lynchburg back on offense. How about another steal down in transition and a nice easy lay-in there at the end from Zach Blue.
Yeah, and Mary Washington has just seemed so composed. Obviously in the first half they had to play a little bit quicker and adjusted to that in the second half and really put their clamp on this game and said, Lynchburg, we're not going to play at that fast pace. We're going to beat you our own way. So credit to them and Marcus Kahn for creating a good mentality coming out of the break. And while it does not look good for Lynchburg, there are a bunch of positives to draw upon as they move forward.
Another foul there on Lynchburg. That last bucket, worth noting, that brought Zach Blue into double figures as well, so make it 4 Eagles scoring 10 or more tonight. Makes another trip to the line, and how about 11 for Zach Blue? Got into the starting lineup today. He was a guy that you touched on.
Yeah, all four of the starting 5 for Mary Washington into double figures. Deshaun Cook, Greg Rosen, Zach Blue, and Daniel Peterson. So obviously Marcus Kahn had his 5, and even at times it looked like Eric Procyse was very in control of himself in his first start in his college career. So Mary Washington they're looking like a force to be reckoned with in the country, not only in their conference.
I mean, you're talking about some pretty serious quality depth here for Mary Washington when you just look down the roster. Obviously Cook and Rosen, that speaks for themselves, but then you look at Zach Blue, Daniel Peterson, Algayer, obviously. Dorian Davis, the freshman, came in and provided some really valuable minutes today. Eric Precise, they obviously confident in him to get the start. Haven't seen a ton of him in the second half, but made some plays there early. And the younger Rosen, Andrew Rosen as well, adding to the score sheet. So some serious depth here for Mary Washington.
Yeah, you talk about buying into a program, and now with Greg Rosen coming back, I mean, if you could find me a better guy in the country to build your team around in terms of mentality, coming back from an injury and not playing for 2 years, and now he's coming back and performing like this in a hostile environment on the road, I think Mary Washington is in a really good spot moving forward.
Young for Lynchburg there, attempting to turn over the Eagles, ends up just knocking that one harmlessly out of bounds. Possession will stay with Mary Washington. Getting the first chance to see number 2 in blue, that's Peter Goldberg, freshman guard out of Sarasota, Florida. As well as Devin Johnson, another freshman big man, hailing from Fredericksburg, Virginia. You know a little something about that, don't you, Andrew?
Oh, I do. A lot of family members going to Mary Washington, so a little bit of a family rivalry here, and obviously tough to come out on the losing end of that, but I do think there are a lot of positives to be drawn from both teams. Obviously a couple more for Mary Washington, but Coach Hillary Scott has got some work to do with this squad, but if they buy into this offense, I think they're going to be in a good spot as they move down in towards conference play.
How about the first points of the night for Devin Johnson, giving the Eagles another player on the score sheet that just continues to grow. And you look at those 4 key pieces, especially scoring in double figures. We'll throw Algayer in there as well with 9. And you know, just contest that on the Lynchburg side. Obviously a big key to winning basketball games is getting as many guys in double figures as you can. It sounds obvious, but obviously harder, you know, easier said than done. And on the side for Lynchburg, it's Makovic with 10. That's it in the double figure realm. You did have Parham with 9. Great freshman debut there from Young. He knocked in a triple, went 3 for 4 at the line, ends up will likely finish with 8 points tonight. 30 seconds remaining on the clock.
Yeah, and Coach Hillary Scott really talked about how if you spread the wealth well and you have maybe 6, 7, 8 players around 8 points, I think they're a very competitive team. But when you look down after the top 4 players, top 5 players, there's only 5 guys that scored more than 6 points. So I think that is where you kind of have to look and see maybe if you can lock down a starting 5, and as you move forward and obviously you get more stamina to play this style, I think it'll come. But it's going to be very difficult to win a ton of basketball games if you can only have 1 or 2 scorers scoring in double figures.
Well, in first games, it's so critical, first and foremost, just to find out what you've really got. You obviously know some things from what you've seen in practice for Lynchburg, the intra-squad game. But you want to see how your team responds in that real environment. And win or lose, you learn something about your team. And both of these teams with several takeaways here moving forward as we hit the end here of game 1 of the 2022-23 season for each of these squads. For Mary Washington, they will improve to 1-0. For Lynchburg, they will drop to 0-1. And Andrew, just give me some of your final thoughts as you walk away from this one.
Well, I think Mary Washington is a very good team, and I think Marcus Kahn is in a very good spot to maybe get back to that coast-to-coast championship game this year. And if they can take their starting 5 and really elevate it even more, if maybe find a 5th, they could genuinely be a force to be reckoned with on the national scale. But for Lynchburg, I think there were some positives. Obviously in the first half, you moved the ball well, you put the ball in transition, and you really showed that you can play that way. Obviously things didn't go your way in the second half, but Hillary Scott's been here for 14 years, moving on to his 15th this year. He'll have adjustments as they move down to face the other coast-to-coast conference finals from last year, Christopher Newport next weekend. So I think while the scoreboard does not show how Lynchburg truly played, I think they'll be in a good spot moving forward.
Mary Washington, a team that did not receive any votes in the preseason top 25. They looked like they may be deserving of some out here tonight. They put up 85 on the offensive end and come away with the win. We'll run you through the box score here before we finish up things in Turner Gymnasium. First for Mary Washington, obviously Deshaun Cook. He finishes with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists to lead all scorers. 14 rebounds tonight for Daniel Peterson. He locks in a double-double, as does Greg Rosen with 16 points and 10 boards. And then it was Peterson and Rosen each finishing with 3 assists on the night. That's the younger Rosen, Andrew Rosen. And on the Lynchburg side, as we touched on, Makovic, stellar season opener for him. He finishes with 10 points, the only Hornet in double figures. Rebounding leader was a tie between Pearson Young and Miles Taylor with 6. And it was Jordan Parham leading the way in the assist column with 2. That is going to do it here from Turner Gymnasium. Basketball season officially underway. I am Sam Grand, joined alongside by Andrew Watson. And until next time, we are signing off.